there are really only two ways to get into entrepreneurship. The first is through curiosity, which is one day you just wake up with an idea and you go, I wonder how the world would look like. And the second is through necessity, which is one day you look at your bank account or your kids or your apartment and you go, I need to change my world, so I need a new idea. Okay. So, how many of you got into creating your entrepreneurship through curiosity? You just kind of felt like it one day, like, let's see what happens. Okay. How many of you got in through necessity? You were like, I got to do something about my life. Okay, great. So, I got in through necessity. I had no choice but to build something. And that is actually what took me down this path. Okay. Now, one thing that I realized is it is very possible to build a successful global business and still end up with nothing. Okay. It is extremely possible. FanDuel was founded in 2009. They hit a 1.3 billion valuation. They raised $416 million. They sold for $465 million. And the founders, earned $0 from that. And that was one of the biggest wake up calls that I had as I started to build businesses online. Now, in case we don't know each other, my name is Tobi. I grew up in Nigeria. I moved to Canada against my will when I was 15. My dad shipped me there. I was supposed to play for Arsenal. Any Arsenal fans in the crowd? Okay, don't be an Arsenal fan. But I ended up just going to university, studying business, and then I got into tech sales and I sucked. I could not sell to save my life. Customers would say, Tobi, I don't think we need this. And I would say, you know what, John, I don't think you need it either. Okay. So I never hit quota for about 4 years. Okay. And at the same time, I was building businesses. Between 2010 and 2020, I made a whopping $50,000 in total revenue. And I say that to tell you, I was such a bad entrepreneur that I actually realized that I was going to fail if I didn't figure out how to become a good entrepreneur. So I applied to a small company called Shopify. Anybody heard of Shopify? Okay. So I applied to a small company called Shopify 7 times in 3 years. Okay. And on the seventh time, they finally let me in. They literally said, you can't take this anymore. We're going to give you the job. I'm like, well, you're lucky because I was going to apply one more time. And so I ended up getting into Shopify. And during my onboarding, I learned a really cool framework around telling stories. I thought it was bullshit. So I actually went on LinkedIn and I wrote a very short story. And it was really cool because I threw it up. I went to bed. And the next day, I woke up to 200,000 impressions on LinkedIn, which is great. Okay. I only had 1,000 connections. But even better, I had about 40 leads in my inbox. Okay. And that was my aha moment. Okay. So this is me at Purple Forge where I failed. That company went bankrupt. This is me running my consulting company. Also fails. This is the most successful thing I had done at that point, which is marrying my beautiful wife. Look at her. Wow. I did so well. And then I got into Shopify, which was the inflection point. And so I ended up building my little empire. Now, the name of this talk is called How to Build a Successful Global Business on Your Terms. But I also like to say it's you building your own little empire. Okay. And so I ended up you remember, 2010 to 2020, I made a whopping, okay, so 7 of you are listening. I made a whopping $50,000. Okay. And then from 2020 to 2025, we made a whopping $4 million using LinkedIn. And so thank you. Thank you. My mom is very proud of me. And so I have a core team of 3 people. We work 3 days a week. We take summers off every single year. And we have 100% location freedom. And the reason I tell you this is because back when I was 22, I decided to go on a really, really deep journey, which is to find out what I actually cared about. Okay. And how I did this was I wrote my own eulogy. Does everyone know what a eulogy is? Yes. Okay. So I decided that I was going to write my own eulogy when I was 22 to figure out what I actually cared about as a human. Okay. Now, think about it. Social media is a trap, right? You see people's cars and everything that they're buying, the Balenciagas and the Pradas and the Rolexes. And it's so easy to get carried away with what everybody else wants. So I wrote a 3-page eulogy, word for word. What do I want people to say at the end of my life about me? Okay. And it was very obvious what I wanted, which was I wanted people to say, or people said, that I was always present. Okay. I never missed a birthday. I never missed a celebration. And I was extremely generous. Okay. That's all that I actually cared about. Everything else was a bonus. Okay. And so if you think about history, right? How did you define a global empire, an empire throughout history? It was multiple territories, strict enforcement, this big economic engine, and like centralized authority. Okay. Those were like global empires throughout history. Now, today, anyone can build their own empire, okay? And all you need to do is own what you build. You need no permissions. You can build from anywhere and you can have leverage, okay? So there are only 3 laws you need to remember if you want to do this, okay? And I say this as someone who was a terrible entrepreneur, okay? 10 years of no money or barely any money, and then 5 years of literally changing my entire family's life. So there are only 3 laws you need to remember. Here's the first law. You must never lose control of your business. You must never lose control of your business. You keep as much of your company as possible at all time. I own 100% of my companies. I report to nobody. If anyone tells me what to do, I fire them. I'm just kidding. But I genuinely stay in control at all times. And these are 2 stories of people. So this is Ama. She built an incredible company called PantMade. And what happened was they ended up building or bringing some people in to help them save the company and finance the companies. And then this year, those same people ended up taking the company from her. And now she has to go build a whole other company. And then you have Ben. Ben started on Shopify. We watched him grow. And he literally went and built Gymshark into a $1.4 billion company, but still maintained control of the company even as he raised money. This is one of the most important things around building a global empire on your own terms, because control equals freedom. If you can maintain control of your business at all times, you will always have the option of who you want at the cap table. Who do you want to invest? Do you want to take summers off? Do you not want to work on Fridays or Mondays or Saturdays or Sundays? You get to decide what you want. And so this is me taking my dad to Arsenal on his 60th birthday, my family to Barbados, and this is my little mastermind that we do every quarter. And honestly, I show these pictures because at the end of the day, this is all I wanted, right? This is all I wanted. If you are going to set up your life on your own terms, you have to actually decide, what are your terms? What do you actually want? And then you reverse engineer and build that. Okay. So this is the first point. I need you to, talk back. I used to be a youth pastor, so I've seen tougher crowds than you. Okay. And so I need you to say back to me the first point, which is never lose control. Okay. On three. 1, 2, 3. That was terrible. Remember, my mom is watching. Let's try that one more time. Okay. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Never lose control. Okay. Now, here's the second point. Prioritize proximity. You just heard a whole panel on LinkedIn. Okay. I am on one channel, which is LinkedIn. I post once a day, 10 a.m., 8 to 12 lines, one visual. I am on day 1,866 of doing the exact same thing. And I have 400,000 followers and have generated over 330 million impressions. I say this to you to say I'm still doing the same thing I was doing on day 1, because anything you continue to do will continue to compound. Here's how I define compound interest. Your ability to stay interested in something long enough for it to compound. Okay? So if you prioritize proximity, which means instead of just posting on all the other channels, which is great, you want to get really close to the money. And LinkedIn is as close to the money as you can get. You could get 4 likes, 30 views, And two of those people are the CMO at Nike and the CMO at Adidas. There is no other platform that allows this to happen, where you can be nobody and get in front of everybody, even if you are performing terribly. We have an accelerator for founders, and most of those founders hate social media like I do, okay? And there are only two types of people on the internet. There are creators that need to make money, and there are money makers that need to create, okay? And I'm on group 2, which a lot of people are, right? And so we teach people how to build a business from scratch or scale a business using LinkedIn. And a lot of these people end up building multiple six-figure businesses just because they're on the right channel, right? So LinkedIn is the closest that you can get to the money. And if all you do from now on is schedule your posts, so I schedule my posts 20, 30 days out, 8 to 12 lines, one visual, and every single day we get leads for the business. And then I hire my mom to just respond to all the comments because, nobody loves me like that woman, okay? And so if you prioritize proximity, you're able to compress the distance between content and revenue. Okay, so now it's not like you create all over here and then it has to go over here and then someone finds you over here. At the end of the day, they are going to check your LinkedIn. It is the most verified source of who you are. So why not just start there? Okay, and so this is what you want to understand. 1.2 billion users, 60 million of those are decision makers, and 10 million of those are C-level execs. This is where they hang out. This is where they come and find the people that they want to do business with, okay? So if I held out $100 bill right here, the likelihood of this lady right here getting it before anybody at the back is very high. This is LinkedIn. You are LinkedIn, ma'am. Amazing. Okay, so let's say the second point one more time, which is prioritize proximity, okay? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Prioritize proximity. You get close to the money, you work less, you save energy, okay? Now, the final point is very simple, which is you have to lift your leverage, okay? We all start at the first post, okay? Everyone starts from zero. We all start at just being a creator, okay? But at some point, you have to understand that your money and what you are generating has to outlast your ability to create. Okay, how many people want to be creating 50 years from now, posting videos? Okay, amazing. 3 of you. Now, for everyone else, right, one day you're going to go, I'm over it. It's very likely, okay? Jay-Z did it, right? Everyone goes, you know what? This thing that got me started, I don't want to do anymore, okay? You have your money that you're making from brand deals, from your businesses, from your info products. They have to outlast you. Everyone talks about generational wealth. Who wants to build generational wealth for their kids? Okay, and their kids' kids. Okay, great. Now, understand that what we're trying to build is not just generational wealth. We're trying to build generational freedom. We want our kids to have the choices that we didn't have. And we want our grandkids to have better choices than our kids, right? And so you have to lift your leverage. And how do you do that? You do that by collaborating, right? Competition is a trap, right? You want to collaborate. You find someone that is inspirational to you, you collaborate with them because collaboration is acceleration. There's an old Bible verse that says, if one person can take on 1,000 people, 2 people can take on 10,000 people, which means you don't get 2x when you collaborate, you get 10x, okay? And so you can see that this is happening all throughout the creator sphere, people putting their money together, putting their time together, putting their resources together, so that they can get better results. Your job is to keep your empire forever so you can pass it on. And one day, if you decide to stop creating, you still have the fruit of your labor. Okay? So the last point here, lift your leverage. Actually, we're going to go from the top so I know that you got all of them. Okay? First point, which is anyone? Okay, first point, never lose control on 3. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. The second point is prioritize proximity on 3. 1, 2, 3. And the final point is lift your leverage on 3. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. And if you do all of that, you will be able to build a global business. You'll be able to build generational freedom, and you'll be able to do it on your terms. My name is Tobi, and Thank you for coming to 1 Billion Followers.